Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. It's pre-Friday. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI Show for short, because we bring you too much information. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So please be sure to like and follow the show wherever you're consuming this content. That really helps the algorithms and will really help our little channel continue to grow. And also, we've got new premium content up. A little snafu yesterday, though, when we were taping the premium content. Power outage, at least where I am here in Northern
start
Virginia.
Paying that power bill, Manila.
I need a job, so
Oh, right, that.
So there's that. I would like to, but no. Remember I talked about on the show, Ted, that there were several like really wild storms here in the past 2 weeks, and like trees were falling down and crushing drivers. So I think that another similar thing happened yesterday. So if you guys are watching the premium episode from yesterday with the dating coach, I hope to get him back. I apologize, Chris Luna. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I had so many more questions, and then power went out. I think, well, Ted,
it's not. I mean, I did yeoman's work. I did keep.
I did. I saw. I know. But you still needed a woman's perspective. But
in dating, what do women have to do with dating? Women just say
right.
No. That's all that happens.
Right. So, at least I didn't have a tree fall on me.
Well, the trees are getting even. That's definitely Dr. Reese would say that, like, the trees are getting even with the automobile culture. Like, scale. You notice the trees don't attack the bicyclists, right?
I guess not. I guess if you think about it.
Ever heard of that? Ever heard of the dude was bicycling and then a tree fell on his ass? Nope. Never heard of that.
No, I guess not. Now that I think of it. Although bicycles get back at you if you're Joe Biden. You fall off of them a lot.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe
kind of amazing
button.
Having read the Tapper book to think that they let Joe Biden ride a bike. I mean, I would not. The guy was senile.
If that was my dad,
he was senile. I mean, what?
Yeah. I wouldn't allow him if he were my dad.
With dementia, your balance is, fucked. Anyway.
Everything is kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So anyway, you guys hit that like button. The show officially starts now.
And off to the races we go. 10 years ago, a president tried to get a nuclear deal with Iran while Israel's most pleasant citizen, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, threatened to bomb Tehran's nuclear enrichment facilities. Now, Donald Trump faces the same issue as Obama did back 10 years ago. He wants to make a deal with Iran, but as usual, Bibi's trying to get in the way. In fact, he wants to bomb Iran. This time, however, Netanyahu's government is now far more reliant on extreme right figures who are very, very hawkish against Iran, even more than before. And Iran is weaker now than it used to be. Israel has, of course, bombed the shit out of Hamas and Hezbollah. In fact, just yesterday, Israel claimed to have killed Hamas's leader in Gaza, Mohammed Sinwar, who was Yahya's brother, and of course the pro-Iranian government of former President Bashar al-Assad of Syria was overthrown yesterday by the head choppers. So, in other words, Bibi's threats to bomb Iran may be a little more serious this time. Trump basically got rid of the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, otherwise known as the Obama-era nuclear deal. Under the JCPOA, Iran was supposed to get rid of big parts of its nuke program, allow U.S. inspectors and neutral inspectors to inspect their facilities, and in exchange, they were going to get rid of a bunch of sanctions by the U.S. and other countries against its energy exports, which it has quite a lot of, as well as its banks. However, under that agreement, under the JCPOA, Iran would have been allowed to continue enriching uranium for their nuclear power facilities at low levels until 2030. Then the limits would have gone away. Trump got rid of that deal. And so ever since then, Iran has basically been free to do what they want. And they still say that they only want to, that they're enriching their uranium up to 60% purity post sanctions. The experts say that they could develop a nuclear bomb within a year at that rate. However, it is the assessment of the CIA and the U.S. intelligence community that Iran is telling the truth when they say they just want nuclear power. They don't want a nuclear bomb. Anyway, as usual, Bibi Netanyahu would be very upset at the prospect of anything that looks like peace between the U.S. and Iran, because he's that kind of guy, and he would rather see he would rather see Iran collapse completely. He thinks that it's an existential threat to Israel.
Yeah.
Attacking.
So, all right,
let's roll this thing.
Oh, sorry. Let's hear what Trump said about it, because a reporter just kind of shouted this out at him. And personally, I wasn't thrilled by Trump's response, and I don't think it was a rebuke of Netanyahu. So you guys listen, tell us what you think. Oh, and before we get there, we got to give a shout out to Nerd and an IOU to Ray for donations the day before and today. So thank you guys for supporting the show. Okay, so now let's listen to Trump's wishy-washy rebuke of Netanyahu.
Yeah. Back on Iran. Did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Doesn't that on sanctions?
I did, yeah.
If Senate Republicans want to push
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him? Did you
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now, because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong, where we can go in with inspectors. We can take whatever we want. We can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up the lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. Yeah, I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now, because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment. Could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal. And if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.
When do
you think a deal could happen on Iran?
On which?
A deal with Iran could happen.
I don't know. I think over the next couple of weeks, if it happens. Yeah.
So Trump saying in the next couple of weeks that he thinks he can make a deal. He's that close to a deal. So I don't know about that. We got to take a quick moment for a word from our sponsor, is what producer Robbie is saying. I don't know who's on the docket as the sponsor
Robert,
today.
Put it up, please, por favor, Kimosabi. We'd appreciate that. Well, maybe we should wait. Maybe there we go. Okay, next time we should probably wait till it's up.
Mixing metaphors, Ted.
Anyway, yeah, I know. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, "I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wonder if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. All right, so Manila, look, here's the thing. I like this statement from Donald Trump. I think, it's one of the things I appreciate about him, is that he is interested in making peace deals with people, with countries that we have been, shit canning for years. So it would be great, obviously, if some kind of arrangement were here. He's obviously radically mischaracterizing any kind of deal that could be achieved. I doubt that we can come in and take anything we want and blow up anything we want whenever we want. I don't think that's true. that can't be true. That isn't true. But I think,
Well,
and also he's kind of
Yeah,
telling
and
Bibi,
protect the gas.
back off, man. I'm trying to fucking do some business here. Quit fucking with me. That's what this is. Now the Iranians have a different view here. Normally, when negotiations take place, both sides, even if they're adversaries, walk away and they're more or less on the same page. They'll say like, these were productive talks, or these,
Sure.
we have a long way to go, whatever. In
That's-
this case,
that's diplomacy speak.
the Americans in this case, are sort of saying, oh, we're close to a deal. And the Iranians are like,
Yeah.
we don't see any deal at all. So, this is a very different thing. I think, it's in a weird way, Netanyahu may end up causing a deal to happen that might not otherwise have happened, just because, I think Trump and the people around him, everybody is smart enough to sort of read the polls, right? Americans have no appetite for war with Iran. They never have, really. And they have and their interest in standing up for Israel is declining substantially. Israel is at a record low in terms of approval among American voters. It doesn't help when you've genocided 200,000 to 300,000 innocent Palestinians in Gaza, and you seem to want to be doing more, and there's no end in sight. And basically, your government is run by maniacs. So, I think it's going to be. I could see in a weird way, if you're on Team Tehran, you're like, you go, Netanyahu. You're helping us here. The U.S. is not going to let Israel bomb Iran. Sorry, and they're not going to do it without our backing. So
I don't know about that.
They're our dog. They'll do what we say.
Are you kidding? I think it's the other way around, or the tail is wagging the dog. I think a lot, if not the majority, of America's foreign policy when it comes to the Middle East is directed by Israel. That's the whole purpose of America's foreign policy in the Middle East is to protect Israel, is to keep it, enclosed, encased in these kid gloves and shielded from everything else. And this guy keeps somehow reappearing as the prime minister, even after he's out of office for like 2 minutes. He somehow, there's a parliamentary overthrow and they start over, and this guy keeps getting elected. So over the past, 25 years or so, he's just come on again and on again and on again as the prime minister. So I would say it was Benjamin Netanyahu the last half of the 21st, or beginning of the 21st, beginning of the 21st century, because after the year 2000, this guy has been in charge of U.S. foreign policy. It's not, they will do whatever they want. They'll ask for forgiveness later. They don't care.
Not bombing Iran.
No.
Sorry,
but they have been. They did already, Ted. They did. They bombed Iran, like within proper territory of Iran, like the outer skirts, but still. Shortly after an incident with, was it Hamas or Hezbollah, a couple of months ago. So it's not like they haven't bombed within the territory, and they continually send in their psycho Mossad killers to go off all of these scientists.
That's
and
true.
do like mini terror attacks all the time. So I don't foresee Benjamin Netanyahu asking for permission from Donald Trump. I think it's the other way around. I think that's why you got I viewed it as a wishy-washy response to the reporter's question, was because he can't rebuke Bibi that much, because there's a lot of deep state stuff that's, tying his hands. I think there's a lot of Miriam Adelson money tying his hands, and a lot of other Israel-related groups that will make the next 3.5 years really hard on Donald Trump if he doesn't, pet the doggy and let the tail wag the dog.
Look, I think that there's, you may well be right, and I'm not 100. I'm far from certain about my opinion here. I'm not like, for example, I was certain that Joe Biden was demented. Certain. I'm not certain about this. This could really play out either way. But I think that given even the lay of the land, the way you describe it, Manila, that is as full-throated a rebuke of Israel as is possible for a U.S. president to deliver. It's basically like, leave me, like, I don't want you to do this. I would appreciate it if you didn't. And that's all you're going to get.
Maybe
That's as
you
far.
should.
Yeah, what do you want him to say? Like, fuck off, Bibi, leave me alone? I mean, that's what he means.
We send them tens of millions of dollars every year. We send them as part of their allowance.
That is not true. We send
billions.
them $2 billion a year. Sorry, I lied. $4 billion a year.
But
they are the number one recipient of U.S. foreign aid in the world.
We pay them and Egypt, for example, to play nice with each other.
That's right.
And that has been part of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East.
Ever since Camp David. Right.
That's right. For the past 30-ish some odd years. 40 years? God.
Yeah, that was in 79.
Oh,
so,
40.
Yeah.
45
so almost
years?
45 years, yeah. Mm-hmm.
40. God, okay.
More
so
than.
it's about as old as me.
Yeah.
So we've been paying them to play nice all along. And okay, you would think that because we pay them to shut up and not kill each other, that we might have more sway, but we don't. They are the spoiled children, just like we can make a comparison with Hunter Biden, who kept fucking up because his dad kept giving him more leash and kept protecting him and kept giving him more money and more allowance. And at some point, your kid grows up to be a 56-year-old psychopath, like molesting teenage girls in Eastern Europe and snorting crack off their asses. So, this is what we're looking at with Netanyahu.
He's setting the role model for us all.
One can only dream, Ted. I can only dream of being 56 and just, snorting Parmesan cheese off the ground because I thought it was cocaine falling on the floor. But this is my point. That's what you end up raising when you don't stand up to your bratty kid. And this is exactly what Bibi Netanyahu is. The bratty
agree.
kid.
And I think one day, look, we're going to look back, in the same way that we look back at ancient Rome and we're like, what were you guys thinking with those lead-lined pipes? Or, in 100 years, it'll be like, you guys drove around in these little tin cans that drove like 80 miles per hour. And you all knew someone who died in a car accident, right? And you kept doing that? Like, you all knew someone. We're going to look back at some point and be like, we were at some point, like, basically the bitch of this tiny country in the middle of nowhere, no strategic location, no natural resources. And we were giving them all this money and they were telling us what to do. And we're going to be like, oh, then at some point, President Rall came in and stopped it all and just said, fuck off. And then they'll be like, and then everyone was like, the spell was
And shortly
broken.
thereafter, that's when you
broken.
get offed by Mossad.
Fuck them. Like, it's like someone at some point has to say fuck them, right? So that's...
Suddenly the schmear on your bagel doesn't sit so well one day, Ted.
Yeah, I'll switch to flagels. Anyway, for people who don't know in flyover country, those are the flat ones that look like they were run over by a car or something.
They're not as yummy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird about flagels. I mean, there is a certain appeal, and the taste is a little different. But they're kind of like
if you're going low carb, I guess lower.
Is that true? Are they more low carb?
Well, just because there's actually less bread.
Well, that's just like just eat half a bagel. What's the
just
difference?
eat one side of it. I don't know, but that's the thing. Like, it's not.
Right.
If it was a full size bagel, it'd be just as much carbs, but it helps for the calorie counters.
But it is very strange.
It's a thing.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, it would literally make more sense to get pushed around by Luxembourg, and you're going to laugh, but like it would make more sense because Luxembourg has huge bank deposits. It's an incredibly rich country.
Yeah.
It's like it's a banking center like the Cayman Islands and like Switzerland. There's secret banking there. I mean, it would make far more sense to like be Luxembourg's dog than to be Israel's dog.
But the U.S. always claims strategic locality.
But there's no strategic locality to Israel. It's like, okay, it is in the Middle East. Big whoop. We're friends with lots of countries in the Middle East.
It's the only democracy
you visited a bunch
in
of
the
them.
Middle East.
And we could be friends with Iran, which is a 5,000-year-old civilization, massive country, real military, massive
with
oil
resources?
resources, controls the Persian Gulf. It's named after them. I mean, hello.
It's the Arabian Gulf now, Ted. Get with it.
Right. It should be
Hello.
well, when I become president, it will be the Gulf of Clovis. But, you know, obviously. I'll name
All right, let's
everything
move on to
after Clovis.
another ancient civilization.
Are we doing
at
the cat
risk
story,
here.
by the way, tomorrow? We have to do the cat story.
Oh my God, Ted wants to. We'll explain tomorrow.
You know, did you know that cats, like, they smell familiar smells out of their left nostril, but novel smells are processed through a cat's right nostril. This is also true about dogs, apparently,
Weird.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, and apparently it's a
okay.
left brain, right brain thing. Your left nostril
Interesting.
is attached to your left brain. Your right nostril is attached to your right brain. That's right.
Huh.
Isn't that cool? It's like mind blowing.
Okay. I'll
So
have to
literally,
look
you
into that.
change. It's about the way you process, and the way also your cat, or probably your dog, but your cat. Dogs see better than cats. Cats don't see very well. They look like they would see really well, but they don't. They basically process you through your smell, like they know it's you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Anyway,
there you are. TMI.
Tomorrow we're gonna do the cat thing. All right. Here we go. We gotta do the cats. Also, we have to do the guy who was bitten by the
Oh
alligator.
my God.
I love that guy.
This is
He's a true
Florida
hero,
man
a
stories.
true hero of 9/11.
Always Florida man.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced yesterday evening that the Trump administration will work to aggressively revoke visas of Chinese students, including those with ties to the Chinese Communist Party or those who are studying in critical fields, which, by the way, has not been defined in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. What's next, Manila? The revising the Chinese Exclusion Act? We could have another one of those. I mean, little yellow peril never hurt anyone. Anyway,
that's right.
He added that the State Department is revising visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future applications from China, including Hong Kong. Hashtag, we are not racist. The move was was certain to send ripples of anxiety across university campuses in the U.S. In fact, it already has. Harvard's already reporting that they're getting record applications of their international students to transfer to other colleges and universities, and is likely to lead to reprisal from China, which is, of course, the country with the second largest group of international students in the U.S. It's not a conspiracy. They also happen to be the biggest country in the world. Rubio's brief statement announcing the visa crackdown didn't bother to say what a critical field is. I'm guessing it's probably not like the history of Vichy France, like I studied. But anyway.
And probably not like art or like underwater basket weaving.
Probably not those.
Probably like science, like
yeah,
some
it
kind
says
of nuclear
probably research in the physical sciences.
Yeah.
So over the years, U.S. officials have expressed concerns that the Chinese government might recruit American scientists, although that's never really happened. And also, what if we actually offer jobs to U.S. scientists? What if we did that? Anyway, it's unclear how the U.S. will determine which students are tied to the Communist Party. The lack of detail will, of course, cause more confusion among the 275,000 Chinese kids in the U.S. studying at colleges and universities, as well as professors and administrators who depend on those researchers and their financial support because they're paying, full freight. It's also unclear how the State Department and Homeland Security will move to cancel their visas, and when or how the Chinese will retaliate on the American students in their country. Prediction, Manila, they're not going to do that. They're not going to throw out the Americans. I think they're bigger than that. Until now, family members of most CCP officials could study at U.S. universities. I mean, lots of people are members of the CCP. Many top party officials sent their kids to U.S. universities in recent decades. President Xi sent his daughter, Xi Mingze, to attend Harvard under a pseudonym, for her personal safety. Harvard administrators and a few professors did know who she was before she graduated back in 2014. State Department and Institute of International Education report says that China has the second largest share of the more than 1.1 million total international students who enrolled in colleges and universities between 2023 and 2024. 277,000 from China. India's number one with 331,000. Similar population, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just Indians are, I think, a little bit behind China, but it's very similar.
Behind? No, I think they surpassed
Or
them
maybe
this
India's
past year.
bigger now, right?
Oh, yeah, they just surpassed China by like tens of thousands.
It's like 1.4 or 1.3 billion or something for each of them. The number of Chinese students had dropped 4% from the previous year. The number from India had risen by a whopping 23%.
So we're getting more Indian college kids.
Yeah, this racist story, which is not racist at all,
Yes.
besides being really racist, reminds me a lot of this really Nazi eugenic theory, which was obviously a fairy tale. But at one point, Nazi theorists discovered that the Aryan people originally came from India, which is true. And then they were like, oh, fuck, we have to stop throwing these people into ovens, and we have to start worshiping them as gods. And so they literally completely reversed their policy. Like, we can't discriminate against them because they're brown, because they're Aryan and we worship the Aryans. So they completely flipped their policy and released them from camps. I mean, this is how stupid, racists are. I mean, because race is not really a true thing anyway. It's not. It's kind of an series of artificial constructs. But yeah. So this is really fugly, Manila. It's really fugly.
Right.
It's
So
like really rancid.
It's not like Rubio came out and was like, we are gonna stop visa approvals for kids from Australia. We're gonna stop visa approvals from kids from England, from Ireland,
Germany,
from Sweden. Nope.
No, no. And if you're an Afrikaner, come on over.
Absolutely. We'll pay for your special trip. We'll book you a plane,
We'll get you a job.
So that, I mean, I know that you and Robbie feel a certain way about having foreign students here in the first place in general,
especially that many. I mean,
but
when I heard that 27% of Harvard students were
that is
international students, I remember I was just like, that's going to breed resentment. I mean, think about all the kids who've applied to Harvard, and let's say there are kids with 4.0 averages.
You need more than that.
4.3, who don't get into Harvard, and they're thinking, okay, well, I didn't get into Harvard maybe because I need financial aid because I'm like a coal miner's daughter, and then some fucking Saudi gets in and and you didn't. You're like, I mean, it's going to lead to resentment. I mean, I assumed that international students at a school like Harvard were like 2-3% of the student body.
I gotta say too, there because I knew some people that went to Harvard and they had classmates that were at that. I mean, I guess they're still A-list celebrities now. Like oh gosh, what's her face? Natalie Portman, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Harvard not only keeps, I don't know if they still do, but keep space for the legacy kids. They keep space.
I think they got rid of that.
Space. They kept space back then for these celebrities who themselves, not celebrity children, like the kids themselves are celebrities, like teen celebrities. That's how you always end up getting
Justin
a Natalie
Bieber,
Portman going
Harvard's
there.
there for you.
All they need to do is apply, and it's just Harvard wants the recognition of saying, oh, we graduated an A-list celebrity of some sort, right? Or conversely, the fact that Xi Jinping's daughter went there, right? The Chinese also, they wanted the brand name recognition of saying, I went not only to an American school, I went to Harvard, because it's the prestige factor. When in reality, I think the prestige is slowly chipping away because people realized after this whole DEI thing under the Biden administration, I think a lot of people are disillusioned with how Harvard gets kids into college in the first place. So I think a lot of its credibility, at least stateside, has not quite been vanquished, but has dissipated a little bit. It's not quite as as elite sounding to all the people like it used to be.
Harvard's still Harvard, though. I mean,
it's still right. It's still got the name brand recognition, and I'm no brand ho. I'm not somebody like that. Like I don't care. like what something
but you
costs or
might
what the
not
name
care,
brand
and
is.
I might not care, but employers care. You know,
I know some
when that
dumbass
resume,
people
when
that
stupid,
graduated
me
from
too,
Ivy League school, like
me too.
dumb. Where I'm like,
I've dated
how
them. I
on
know.
earth, how on earth did you get into there? Like, I just couldn't understand. Like, you went to college? Like, just some of the dumbest people I know, including one of them being a neurosurgeon.
Well, you know, surgeons aren't necessarily the smartest people. You know, they're no, I mean, I'm
And
serious.
weird.
No, I mean, it's like
weird
it's a person.
AF.
No, I mean, you know, if you think about what's needed, right?
Dated one.
I mean, you're basically a glorified auto mechanic. You get under the hood. You just need to know what to do. You need to be calm. You can't freak out about the fact that some guy's brain is like pulsating under your thumb. You know, you have to. It's a personality thing. It's like, does a pilot have to be smart? I mean, it might not hurt, but it's not the most important trait. Remaining calm and knowing what to do is the most important trait for a pilot.
Well, they're supposedly smart, right? And I can't remember what Ivy League school he went to, but I remember I dated him. I remember thinking, wow, you have such limited knowledge about anything else. Anything else in the world outside of neurosurgery.
I was a math TA and tutor at Columbia Ivy League school. They and you know, I tutored kids who had gotten in who literally, you know, you break down like, okay, so why are you having a problem with this? Calculus is required, at least it was when I was there, for all students. You had to take freshman year, you had to take calculus 1. And so, you know, okay, so what are you having problems with here? Oh, okay, so you don't understand this underlying thing. And you drill down and be like, oh shit, you don't know your multiplication tables. And you're here.
God.
I mean, you shouldn't be here. And you're like, literally, okay, so, you know, we're going to try to like duct tape this person's math abilities. But I mean, come on. Jeez. I mean, they're 7 years, 8 years, 9 years behind where they need to be. Good luck. They're probably not going to graduate.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The Chinese kids aren't like that.
I tutored a lady. She was, I'll just say, in line for the throne of Morocco. So she was not poor. And and she was very sweet and very dim. And she was at Columbia.
Oh, well, there's those kids, right? And then, and already, Ted, there are countries that are in 24 hours. That means they've been waiting for this. They knew or something. Did you hear that in the last 24 hours already, schools in across Asia, I don't know if it was like Singapore or I forget which Asian country, but we'll just say Singapore and Australia. So countries in the Ring of Fire have already put out TV commercials to try to draw international students saying, forget going to the US. We'll give you the visa.
Smart.
Come here.
Smart. I mean, there's good colleges and universities all around the world. You know, and some are in some really interesting places. I mean, it didn't exist when I went to college, but I got to say, the University of Central Asia in southern Tajikistan, I would consider if I were 18 now. I mean, just think about like the knowledge you're going to get just from living there.
Well,
you know,
I could say the same thing about like the universities in Russia.
Yeah.
Very impressive programs.
And speaking of math and science, right? Their expectations, your biggest problem as an American is you go over there, like, let's say you're like like I was, A student, you know, AP everything, but you go to like anywhere else, you go to Europe, you go to Russia, you're in remedial class because you're a tard, you know. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, it's great. They're so far ahead of us.
Yeah, they're very
and not to mention like the experience that you would get.
STEM.
I mean, imagine the experience. I mean, like you have 4 years in Russia. I mean,
amazing. You're like in St. Petersburg for 4 years. Like amazing. Like that'd be amazing.
Fluent in Russian. I mean, great.
Like if you're an American kid.
By the way, the French here, I'm going to give impart some knowledge for our viewers who have kids who are like 16, 17. Lots of countries are like this, but I know more about it for France. So any American can apply to go to university or college in France. And they basically you basically are paying $5,000 a year total, including housing, books, fees, everything. $5,000. You got to get your ass over there. Okay, but that's it. It's basically about $5,000, might be $6,000 now. It's not much.
For the year?
For the year, okay? And they assign you to a French college somewhere. It could be anywhere from the Sorbonne, if you're brilliant, to like a technical school and anything in between. And they're like, okay, you're going to the University of Marseille or whatever. They assign you. And here's the thing. You're in a program where you don't even have to speak French. You go there and they teach you French. At the end of the 4 years, you come out of it with a French college degree, no debt. Well, maybe, I guess if you have to borrow the $5,000 a year, you'll have that debt.
Right.
But you can basically put that like on your American Express card.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you're fluent in French because, you're 18, 19, 20. It's easy to learn a language. I mean, and I looked this up when I was researching my book, What's Left. There are a lot of countries around the world. Americans don't know. They have programs like this. You don't have to speak the language. It's cheap. Wow. They don't care. They want those Americans because they know we're being all priced out, and they have declining enrollment. They need the students. They have a shrinking population. They have a fertility crisis. They want the schools to stay vibrant,
especially in those Western nations.
And they want their kids to meet Americans and other foreigners. So it's,
that's exactly right. And I think the reckoning has come, and I think this is an accidental outcome that the Trump administration has presented American or the world's students to be like, instead of dreaming of Harvard, what else is there for me in the rest of the world? Maybe I want to go to Singapore.
It's a big planet. Nothing wrong with going to school in Singapore at all.
Like maybe I want to go there. Maybe I want to go, somewhere else. And this name brand thing, I think, like Oxford, I passed up my opportunity to go to Oxford, but
you would have
my dad was dying.
You would have gotten to wear those like Dumbledore robes.
It's Hogwarts. It's real life.
It is Hogwarts. So, people don't. It still blows my mind. It's 1,000 years old.
I know. I misspoke.
And there's buildings that are 1,000 years old on the campus, is my understanding.
I misspoke when I told my dad.
I had a friend who was a professor there, and he quit and like moved back to like Portland, Oregon. And I'm like, why? And I go, why? He goes, oh, I didn't like the lifestyle. Like, what's the lifestyle? He goes, well, we just hung out in our robes, drinking wine and sherry and talking about philosophy. I'm like, what? Like you quit that? And he said, oh, and there was a mad hookup culture among all the professors. I'm like,
oh God,
where do I shine? It's so great.
I passed up on that opportunity because one, I knew that the university had been around forever, but my dad was dying of cancer at the time.
Okay, you had no choice.
And no, my dad was trying to push me, even though he had a terminal diagnosis. He said, this is because of Asian parents. He's like, this is Oxford.
It is my dying wish. So why did you say no? Disrespectful daughter.
I know, because I said, Dad, Oxford's been around for like 600 years. I don't have that much time with you. I was wrong. It was been around, I was wrong. I obviously, like you pointed out, it's been around like 1,000 years.
I have to say, I probably would have done the same thing.
And I said, if Oxford's been around for 500 years, I don't have that much time with you. I'm staying with you. And I don't regret it to this day.
Could you have deferred for a year?
I didn't even think about it. It was just,
people never think of deferral. That's another thing. I strongly recommend it as a former employee of an admissions department at Columbia. Really, truly, when you get accepted,
right?
You just write a letter and you just say, like, I'm coming, thank you very much, but I'm going to come a year
later.
I
explained to them,
and they come and they always say yes. It's automatic. It's always granted.
2 weeks.
No one ever says no. No colleges ever say no.
What kind of assholes would they have been, right? Had I thought of that and I said, listen, my 2 weeks after I got accepted, we got a terminal diagnosis on my dad. Can I wait a year?
They would have.
But I didn't.
And then you just basically, and then you go a year later, you work, and you're going to have a much better work ethic, and it's good. Take that year off. I wish I had,
Did not think of it. But again, hundreds of universities out there that are fully reputable.
Just a few minutes left, so we got to
this next story.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna change gears. I'm gonna play the soundbite. This is a local story, but I think it's applicable to the country because Ted, I think
it is. It's the same thing everywhere.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere. So, okay, this is local DC corrections. So check this out.
Mhm.
Investigation finds conditions in the D.C. jail have gotten so bad it's endangering the lives of inmates and corrections officers. The report calls for the D.C. jail to be replaced urgently. Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald is live at the Wilson building. Fitz, what's fueling all these concerns?
Well, you know, when you read through this thing, Shamara, this audit, there's no other word for it. It is eye-opening. It was conducted between July of 2023 and June of last year. And in that time, 10 inmates died either by murder, either by overdosing inside the jail, or unfortunately died by suicide. That's not all. Even after the audit ended, 3 more inmates died in the remaining months of 2024. D.C. Auditor Kathy Patterson telling Fox 5 today in this report that the D.C. jail right now has a death rate that is 3.5 times over the national average for jails. The leading cause of death in the D.C. jail is overdose, and right now the overdose rate is 10 times the national average. Patterson tells Fox 5 that this 40-year-old facility has deteriorated badly. She says it is outdated, increasingly dangerous, and needs to replace now.
Because as long as we have custody of individuals, we need to not risk their lives. And that goes for not just the folks who are inmates, that goes for staff as well.
Now, D.C. is facing a tight budget. Is there a plan from the Bowser administration to replace the D.C. jail, Tom?
Well, you know, Shamari, as you know, D.C. has been talking about replacing the D.C. jail, you know, for years now, and it hasn't happened. This was brought up during the mayor's budget presentation that we reported on yesterday. The city administrator, Kevin Donahue, said that those plans, you know, have been in the works, and they have reached the stage now where they do think they have a way to do this. Now, what they would do is get a private developer to come in, actually construct the jail, and then D.C. would be the tenant of that jail, not actually the owner of the building. But Shamari, you know, look, we've been talking about these financial challenges that the District of Columbia has been facing nearly every single day lately. Price tag for this thing, it's going to be enormous. They're talking about at least $1.4 billion to get this new D.C. jail built. And, you know, the bottom line right now, despite this report coming out, there's no timeline right now besides all the talk and commitment to making it happen, where and when it would actually happen.
Okay, so all the talk about, oh, we got to fix this, and then they just move on to the next thing. Like Mayor Bowser I've been here 11 years. She's been the mayor of DC for the majority of that time. And there was a moment where like things were getting better in the district. And when I lived in the district the first few years, and ever after that, I moved across the river into Northern Virginia. But everything's just gotten worse and worse. And then COVID and just everything in the city has just gone to shit in the past decade. And the DOC, I've done stories out of there. It is deplorable conditions. These people, I know these are not, you know, sympathetic characters because you think they're assholes and deserve to be there, but they're whatever their crime, whether it's, you know, like some weed or whatever their crime, robbing people, even the worst, most heinous crimes, their punishment is being behind bars. Their punishment is their freedom being taken away. They should not be under threat of fucking dying because the conditions are rancid and disgusting. That, I mean, they're living amongst rats and there's like typhus and shit going on in there. That's disgusting and inhumane. And if we're not, like, the nation's capital, the gleaming city on the hill, if we're not going to actually clean that up and try to actually rehabilitate some of these people, which I think there's a chance for that, because I have family members that, you know, were in and out of prison. There's a chance for these people if you don't give up hope and if you actually apply good steps towards actually helping these throwaway people, especially the youth, there's a good chance the recidivism won't be as high and the death rate won't be as high. I think that's just a horrible story that, obviously the city views these people as all throwaway. And the majority of the people that are the throwaway people are people of color who actually came out of really disadvantaged beginnings to start. And that's how they end up there. And then to have 3 times the death rate is fucking shocking to me, Ted. It is deplorable. American gulags are the thing. Like, this is the new norm.
Look, I couldn't agree with anything that you said anymore. So I'm not going to repeat what you said. I totally agree. By definition, if something is 3 times worse than other places, that means other places are, for the most part, not as bad. That said, there's a lot of really horrific conditions in our jail system. By all accounts, the jails, which are basically temporary lockups, usually for short-term stays or for people who are awaiting trial, usually in cities, are much worse conditions than federal prison is the least bad. State prison is behind that, and the bottom of the barrel are these local lockups, the jails, as opposed to prisons. And in my book What's Left, which is available now from rall.com/books, I even detail some really heinous examples. For example, in the Fulton County, Georgia lockup that was presided over by one of our favorite people, Fani Willis, and where President Trump was processed famously for his mugshot.
Right.
A guy literally died from being bitten by so many bed bugs that he went into he went into shock. He went into anaphylactic shock. And that is not unusual. It was a cover up. I saw photos of his body are available online, and it looked like he'd been attacked by thousands of bugs. And basically the conditions, by all accounts, there's huge rats. The Rikers Island facility. Now, they're talking about the age of the facility. Okay, I'm kind of laughing about that. It's 40 years and it's already rotting. The tombs here in New York City, in Manhattan, the original complex dates to 1838.
Wow.
But they did replace most of it. The current building is a 1941 building. Nearly 100 years old, right? And it is, and I know, having cooled my heels in there for a few days once, that it is not really in great condition either. So it's not necessarily an age thing. It's about the resources that go into it. It's about the care that we have. Voltaire famously said that you judge a society based on how it treats its prisoners, and it's least it's most unfortunate. And that's true. These are our brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, and they're going to come back to us for the most part into our society. They're not gone forever. They're going to come back to us. So even if you don't have sympathy, have self-interest. Think about yourself. You don't want these people coming out brutalized and damaged.
Not worse.
But anyway, no, that's disgusting. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is a problem that nobody cares about and nobody's going to care about.
Yeah. So that's,
nobody's ever run successfully for political office saying, I'm going to make conditions in prisons better.
I know. And sadly, this is the only place probably that you will hear about this story outside of the local news, obviously. Because,
and it is dangerous for the corrections officers too. Corrections officers unions are a huge force fighting for more humane conditions for prisoners, because they can that makes their lives easier too. They don't want brutalized, traumatized, abused prisoners. They want the prisoners to be happy and docile.
And docile. Yeah, they don't want triggered, angry men that they have to deal with.
Makes sense,
right?
Right.
So spitting at them, and
one of
they
the
want
few
mental
police
health.
unions that I can get behind is the corrections officers unions.
Yeah, this is terrible. And John Kiriakou has talked about this because he was in the pokey for a little while, and he talked about how the horrible healthcare, rotting teeth,
he had a bad tooth,
dying.
Right? That story. About how they told him oh well, we can pull your tooth. It's what? Literally, if you go to so for example, the Turkish lady who was sent to the Louisiana gulag, ice gulag. They told her she has asthma, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're not allowed to have your inhaler." So basically, she just had to suffer.
Did you hear that they
through her
also
asthma
didn't give
attacks.
her? She was having her period, and they didn't provide her sanitary.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that's not. Yeah, that's not generally provided in jail at all.
What the fuck?
Like basically like women just be jamming TP
bleeding
up.
all over.
They just be jamming TP up there. That's all. Yeah, if they're lucky enough to get it.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting how we treat people in whole, federal, whatever holding. And in this case, we're talking about DOC, which is jail, not prison. And these people, like you said, Ted, are not supposed to be there for a long time, but because the judiciary system here is so fucking backed up,
And by the
these
way,
people
as far
end
as
up
I'm
being held
concerned,
for months.
By the way, if they can't bring you in front of a judge in under 24 hours, they should release you.
Yeah, but that
I don't care what you did. Like,
doesn't happen.
Oh, you don't have enough
Doesn't happen.
Judges? Hire more judges. I mean, when I was when I was fighting the LA Times, I remember at one point getting a speech, and this was in civil court. They were saying like they had 8 judges for a courthouse that needed 50. Well, it's like, so hire judges, assholes.
Yeah, they don't do that. This is a DOC recruitment video, by the way.
All right, we better go.
Anyway, we'll leave that there.
We're going to premium soon.
We got to go do a pre-tape for the premium show. So we're gonna cut this off right here. We thank you for being here. Hope you guys found it informative and lightning fast. We'll be back tomorrow for Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you for being here. Hit the like button, smash it, like it, love it. Join premium. Adios, amigos. Bye.